to start by introducing myself. My name is Wendy Fringer. I'm the Associate Director of Pre-College Programs, and I handle kind of the logistics for the Lott Leadership Program. That's what my office does, is make sure that you have transportation if you need it, make sure you have teachers, make sure you have a place to live, you have food to eat, make sure that at night you have fun. That's what we do. And so I'm here tonight to kind of facilitate, and I think I'm going to end up presenting. We had planned to make this more of a student to student encounter for you guys, because we know that in the end, you can go to the website, get information, you can talk to other adults, but usually what you want to hear is directly from students when you can. And I had two students who had told me they were going to try to make it tonight, but as you all know, I'm sure, as Lott Leadership nominees, when you're a Lott Leadership nominee or you've been selected for it, you tend to have a million different things going on, a lot of directions to run in. So I knew my students who had said they could possibly be available, they weren't sure they would be able to get here in time. So it may be that you're just going to hear from me tonight. But I will introduce my colleague, Ari Lugo. She's also on. Ari, you want to say a few words about yourself and what you do?
Sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Ari, and I do all the logistics during the summer. I make sure that you all have fun things to do, but also a lot of different opportunities for you to develop some skills and to meet people on campus. So I am the one who creates and facilitates all those fun interactions with other students and with departments on campus.
Thank you so much, Ari. And Ari tonight will manage the chat, and any problems you may have, she'll handle them while they're occurring. If you get kicked out, she'll be the one who lets you back in, that kind of stuff. So just a reminder for those of you who maybe couldn't hear me earlier because you were still kind of loading. This is the Lott Leadership Summer Institute for ninth graders, rising ninth graders, which means you're all in 8th grade right now. And we're going to talk tonight a little bit about what the program is, because you've all been nominated. Congratulations. And we want to make sure you get your questions answered tonight. As I said earlier, this is being recorded. If you're willing to have your face on screen, that's fabulous, because then we can see you and get a sense of who you are, and it's easier just for like signaling, I want to ask a question, that kind of stuff. But if you want to keep it, off, that's perfectly fine. We can interact in many different ways. So that's all right. If you're a parent and you're on here and you have questions, go ahead. It doesn't have to be just kids asking questions. You're welcome to answer questions or ask questions too. I'll start off by just talking a little bit about the Lott Leadership Summer Institute. So you got, I'm sure, an email, probably an automatic email from our office when your counselor nominated you, and it said, congratulations, you've been nominated for this thing. Can I just see a show of hands? How many of you actually knew what it was? You've heard about it from other people. You've already got a sense of what Lott Leadership is. Seen a lot of blank stares, a lot of confusion, maybe no. Yeah, so that's not surprising. By the time our 12th graders, we have the 12th grader program as well. They are usually like, yeah, we know all about it. But for y'all, this is probably the first time you've heard about it, because we work with high school students primarily. So I'll say a few things about what it is and why you might have been nominated. So the Lott Leadership Institute on our campus focuses on public policy and leadership. Their goal is to make the state of Mississippi just the best it possibly can be. And they want to do that through training wonderful leaders, whether that means leadership in business, leaders in civic engagement, leaders in healthcare, doesn't matter. They want great leaders, the best minds in our state, to come through the University of Mississippi and the Lott Leadership Institute in some way or other, and then leave it transformed and ready to do great things in their communities. That's their goal. And so they have these summer institutes, one for 9th graders, one for 12th graders, and then they have their whole major on campus. They do a lot of other things. This is just one piece of what they do. And so the Summer Institute for 9th graders is only for Mississippi residents. It's just for you. Sometimes we let somebody else in from Alabama, Louisiana, or Tennessee, but don't tell anybody, because we usually don't. It's just for Mississippi people. And the goal for you all while you're here is you stay here for 2 weeks, you live on campus, and you learn about American democracy and how it works. We have 2 fantastic teachers Every year students say they were just amazing, these teachers, and sometimes the teachers end up hearing from the students later and they write recommendations for other programs and that kind of stuff. But two fantastic teachers, an English teacher and a history teacher, who worked together to teach this class, Problems in American Democracy. Their whole thing is to help students explore the many different issues that come up when you have a big, huge nation like ours with people with a million different opinions from a million different perspectives and life histories. You're going to have problems. But what's brilliant about America is that we have mechanisms for solving those problems, right? We have a whole system in place through our government and through our civic institutions that are meant to help us manage that and find ways to find consensus when we have disagreement. And so in your Problems in American Democracy class, your teachers will explore some of those issues. And they do it a little different every year. So some years you might be looking at, you look at all different kinds of issues. You might look at, environmental issues, problems of growth in business, problems of, I don't know, conflicts between different regions in the country. They have all different ideas they do. This past year, one of the things they talked about was space. And space as a place that we're beginning to explore, right? We're starting to get resources there. They read The Martian. If you saw the movie, they watched the movie too. And they talked about what you can learn from that sort of thought experiment about resource use and some of the upcoming challenges we're going to face as our nations increasingly have to decide who gets to own space and make decisions about space. It was really cool. So they do all different kinds of things. Problems in American democracy, right? So while you're here, you're taking those classes, you also do a portion of it online. So before you even get here, you will have done some reading, done some work in our like Blackboard, which is like Canvas, if your system, your schools use that, or Schoology. It's another system like that. You'll do some work there, just like our college students do, same system they use. And then you'll come to class. 2 weeks, you'll spend a lot of time together with the other Lott students. There's no more than 20 in a class. We keep it small, so you will know each other very, very well after 2 weeks. You get to really trust one another. You'll do projects in groups. You'll do different kinds of presentations. I know sometimes they like write songs. They get very creative and do all kinds of things. And you will also go on a trip in the middle of that time. So usually on the weekend, between the 2 weeks, we'll also take students on a trip. Sometimes that's to Jackson, sometimes it's been to Memphis or to Little Rock. It just depends where the teachers in the Lott Institute decide would be helpful this year. But when you go on that trip, the purpose is to explore some of the issues that have come up in your class and get a sense for how do leaders solve those problems? How do leaders in government, leaders in business, leaders in the nonprofit world? And you will meet and speak to people who are leaders in various ways. So the program then has this academic piece. It has this piece of travel, that has this piece of networking and meeting leaders. And then there's the piece that Ari spoke about, which is just learning to be a college student. You're taking a high school class while you're with us. You're getting half a credit that counts towards high school if your high school decides to accept it. But at the same time, you're learning what's it like to have a roommate. What's it like to have to get up on time in the morning? Nobody's waking you up. You've got to walk yourself to the Rebel Market and get some food. And then you've got to get to class on time. And then at lunchtime, you got to get there again and get your food. What's it like to put yourself to bed on time at night? Because we're not tucking you in. You're going to put yourself down. You have to be in your room at a certain time. Can't be out running around everywhere. We have curfew. But what you do after that point is up to you. So it's kind of nice because you get that feeling of making choices as a real college student. And you have the freedom of the campus. You walk around the campus. You won't get lost because we'll show you where to go. It's pretty straightforward, but you can explore a little bit. And it really is a great way to figure out kind of how can you belong on a university campus? What kinds of things might you want to look at in campuses? What kinds of majors? Well, exposure to that. Ari handles a lot of the events that we run that will introduce you to different programs, different support resources, different opportunities on campus. And while you're with us, You'll live under the care of another one of our staff members. He's not here tonight, but he supervises all of our like middle and high school students who are not taking college classes. So you live apart from college students. You don't have any contact with them other than running into them on campus, which is nice. So you feel like at home, you're with people your age, and you're supervised by some of our trained college student staff members. They are usually juniors and seniors in college, a few sophomores that are particularly mature, and they're there to be a resource for you. So when you're figuring out like, I can't get the laundry machine to work or whatever, they're there to solve that for you. They're there to do fun stuff with you at night so that you don't get bored, all those kinds of things. I'm going to ask Ari, though, to say a few words about the kinds of things that you might expect to do in the evenings. So Ari, can you speak a little bit to what are the kinds of fun things that we do, part of the co-curriculum that we have in place?
Yep. So for example, last year we had a lot of different social activities. We have some parties, like theme parties, for example. We had a 50s party. We also have a different activities, for example, dancing lessons. We had yoga. We had some visitors from different departments on campus who help students to read a syllabus, for example. What is a syllabus? And that's a word that you will listen to a lot during college. So there's a professor who helps students learn what it is and what type of information they can find. We also have a lot of different activities. You will be divided into groups of students, and sometimes we have competitions, we have different sports, games and things like that between different groups. We had also a talent show where students were able to sing or dance or play an instrument and showcase the different things that they were able to do. They got together with other friends and they prepare a song, and everybody showed a little bit of what they could do. So those are some of the activities that you can expect during the summer.
Thank you so much, Ari. And if you are someone who loves Oxford, is like, well, we get to the square. Yes, you will get to the square. We go on walks to the square. You'll get to eat on the square and get ice cream. I think the one of the big hits is the creamery. We love the creamery ice cream. So we have all kinds of things happening. And you can expect that you will not have a dull moment. You'll go home tired. Adults who may be listening, you will definitely see a change when your child gets home if your child does that. I hear that from parents all the time. Like, my child never used to like carry groceries for me, and now they're like offering to carry groceries. And like, I don't know why that's a side effect of ninth grade Lott participation, but it seems to be one of the things that crops up is that students are more helpful at home. I think maybe because they've had to do so much themselves for 2 weeks, they realize, well, my parents do an awful lot for me. But I do think we have one of our Lotties managed to make it tonight. So I'm going to let Caroline speak up. And yeah, there you are. I was like, I think that's Caroline right there.
Hey, y'all.
Thank you for being here, Caroline. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for inviting me. Congratulations on y'all's nomination.
This is great. So I'm going to go ahead and ask Caroline a few questions about herself, and then we'll go ahead and open it up to you all to ask questions of us and of Caroline. So Caroline, would you mind just telling us where you're from, what kinds of interests you have, what kinds of activities you're involved with?
Yes, ma'am. So hi, y'all. I'm Caroline Burrows. I live in Gulfport, Mississippi. I attend school at Our Lady Academy in Bay St. Louis, Mississippi. I'm a member of the varsity sailing team, a member of the Crescent robotics team, and I'm a Crescent ambassador.
Awesome. Thank you. So why did you decide to do this? You were once in their shoes. You were nominated. What made you decide to go through? Because it is a bit of work to apply.
Oh, yes, ma'am. So my guidance counselor nominated me and 4 other students from my school, and she actually has kids that went to Ole Miss, and she said this is a very good opportunity to grow your leadership skills. So I would recommend applying for it. So over the winter break, I applied, filled out all the essays and questions, and I was so lucky to get in, and it was such a great experience.
I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, so for those of you who are thinking about it, as I said, we take 20 in June and we'll take 20 in July, which means there are a lot of people that don't get in. And so if you are one of the ones who gets in, that's fabulous. If you don't, you will still get an email with other opportunities from our office. So I want to put that out there. Even if you apply and don't get in, it's not wasted effort, because if you apply, you are still going to be under consideration for other programs and scholarship opportunities for the summer with us. And that is still, we still look at you as like wonderful candidates. The fact that you were nominated, it is an honor in itself. And if there's any way we can connect you, just because we didn't have space for everybody in the Lott 9 Institute doesn't mean we don't have space in other great opportunities for you. So yes, I'm glad that Caroline made the effort to get through the whole process. I'll speak about that in a little while. So what was the hardest part of the application process for you, Caroline?
So the hardest part for me was definitely the essays, because it showed the people who were reading the nomination letters who you were and why you were interested. And there was one essay question in specific that I remember being the hardest. So being a young high school student, I don't necessarily have a career path. I don't necessarily know what I'm going to major in when I get to college. So this one was kind of stumped me, but I do know I want to go into the medical field. So I was talking to my dad, who's a nurse practitioner, and my social studies teacher about a leadership position that in like the United States, because that was one of the questions. And they said the Surgeon General is a very influential leadership position in America. So I did a little research about that, and I was able to complete that essay question with no problem. And that was my favorite one to fill out, because I was able to learn, and it just kind of you know, made my interest in the medical field a lot broader. There's so much you could do with that. We actually had a guest speaker come in who worked at the hospital in Oxford, and she was telling us about the so many job opportunities with leadership you can get at a hospital. And I really enjoyed when she came and talked about that.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that, Caroline. That's great. And I love that you learned something on the front end of the process, just doing your application itself. And so, yeah, I want to emphasize, you know, talking to other people is a great way to kind of figure out how to prime yourself for those essays. We'll also have a little essay workshop in January. If you're still kind of stumped, we'll do a little Zoom workshop like this about it. And this year you guys are going to do, instead of writing 2 essays, there'll be a video as well as an essay. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. But what I always say to people is just like, if you do nothing else in your essay, be authentic. Don't try to sound like, you know, your smartest English teacher you've ever had writing the essay or something like that. Try to sound like yourself. Be yourself. And if you're really like Caroline said, you're not sure, you know, I don't know what I want. Tell us about all the things you're thinking about. You know, I'm not on that committee, but I know those folks, and they would rather see an authentic student really thinking through who they are and what they want in life than someone who's like, I asked my mom what to put. She told me what to put. I wrote what my mom said. That's not interesting and doesn't feel authentic. And we can, you know, we can tell. We've read a lot of essays in our time. So Caroline, tell us a little bit about the experience of being here in the summer. What was it like for you?
The experience was so amazing. I honestly don't think anything could have gone better. So I'm gonna go ahead and tell you guys the highlight of my experience there. So I got to celebrate my birthday at Lott, and I knew a Lott 12 student because we went to elementary school together. And all the boys and girls in Lott 9 and a few students from Lott 12, they all helped me celebrate my birthday, which was so sweet because we had met in such a short amount of time, and they already felt like family. I was like, yep, that's it. They're already my besties for life. So one thing I really did enjoy was the feeling of being treated like a college student. Being a young high school student, I kind of hope it goes by quickly because I'm so excited to go to college after going to Lott. The classes were, I feel like they were really close to what a college class would be like. And the work we got was phenomenal. It really helped my writing. It really helped me with where I am today educationally. And honestly, the things we learned inside and outside of class were honestly just made me a better leader in person today. All of the guest speakers we had were amazing. We actually had one of the speakers who was in charge of the agriculture on campus. He gave us a book called Leaders and the Leaders. I read that when I got back, and I was able to reflect on what I learned from reading that book. So it was truly such an amazing experience. It makes me look forward to going to college. Hopefully it all miss.
Fantastic, fantastic. So were the classes really hard? I just, some students may hear you and go, yeah, but am I ready for that level of, so how did you find the academics? Were they too hard?
So my advice to the students is don't stress about the online work, because they do give you time to do it there. I completed it all the week before I got there, so I had a lot more free time than other students that didn't complete it before they got there. But honestly, don't stress about the work. Almost everybody in my class finished with a high A. We do a lot of group projects and a lot of group discussions, and that's part of your grade. So no need to stress. It was such a great class. Mr. Minton and Miss, oh my gosh, I can't think of her name right now. Miss Pittman were amazing teachers. They were so great to talk to and have discussions with. You could talk to them outside of the classroom if you're struggling with something, but they were some of the best teachers ever. Miss Wendy, if you see them by any chance, you should have tell them I said hi, and that
Will do. Amazing. I see them, I do. So I will let them know. That's great.
Yes, ma'am.
And yeah, the class, you will be pushed as she's described, but you will have all the tools you need to succeed. You will do well. Don't worry.
When you get into high school, you'll see the results in your writing and in your work at school. Trust me.
That's great. That's great. So what was it like living in the dorms? Can you speak about that?
So I really enjoyed living in the dorms. My roommate and I are still really close. We would tell each other good night every night before we went to sleep. And sometimes we text each other good night. So she's so sweet and we're really close. It really taught me organization, because besides doing like sleepaway camps in the summer, I'd never really just like been on my own, done my own laundry and whatnot. It was a super great experience to be able to, just learn time management, taking care of myself, and doing all that just on my own. I did laundry for the first time on my own while I was there. So that really made me feel independent. Now I do my own laundry at home. So once again, like Miss Wendy said, if parents who are on here, you will see a change in your kids. They will want to be more independent. But I feel like that also prepared me for college dorm life. And we had a curfew. Everything was super safe. I don't think the whole entire experience couldn't have been safer. I had a Lott 12 student. Once again, we went to elementary school together. She was constantly checking on me and the other students, and all the staff there were just so amazing, so fun to just hang out with and talk to. And they did the best they could to keep us safe. The dorms were as safe as they could be, and I couldn't have had a better dorm experience.
That's great, Caroline. I appreciate that. And yeah, the Lott 12 students really liked you guys. They were so cute. They were like hovering around you. And the Lott 12 students were here for like a whole month. So they, if Caroline's describing, she and her roommate kind of had this little ritual. I had like 5, I think, Lott 12 students who all bought the same nightgown and were like having like pajama parties like before bed and stuff. It was really cute. So yeah, students get close and it feels like kind of a big extended family as time goes on. And so I'm gonna, at this point, Caroline's told you guys some things, we've told you all some things. I'll let you ask questions of us. What kinds of things are on your mind tonight? What would you like to know that we haven't answered, or you want more detail on something? It's okay to be typing it in the chat if you want to do that instead of speaking. That's perfectly fine.
I was one of the ones asking questions. Don't be afraid to ask any questions, guys.
Yep. While you're thinking, if you have any questions and kind of trying to decide that, I'll say a few words just about applications. So December 15th, our application process will open. And then you'll have until January 25th to get all that in. All right. And I know that we ask for a lot. We ask for a lot for a lot of reasons. One of the things that the committee needs is as much information as possible to make their decisions. For example, you know, we've got grades to look at, right? But grades are only one aspect of somebody, and most students who come into this program already have great grades. So the committee likes to look at the essays, they look at the recommendation or the reference that we get for you. All those kind of things help us tell the story of a student and really get who is this person. Because the committee doesn't want to pick just a bunch of people who are all alike. They want to pick people who are going to have interesting things to say to one another. And so that's one of the things they're really looking for is, oh, we've got this person who's really interested in health. And this person's really passionate about music and their involvement in band. And this person over here, you know, they want a really interesting group of students. And I see we have a question from a parent about what kind of communication you'll have about the application process. So parents will be CC'd when that application rolls out. You'll be CC'd on all that. From that point on, a lot of times what happens is, you know, students will email us with questions, for example, and our staff will answer, and you may not be CC'd on that because the student initiated the communication and we're just replying to them. So you may need to ask your student what's going on, where are you in the process? But you will be part of that first out push of here's the application, here's what you need to do, here's the deadlines. You'll get that. How many hours a day are you in a classroom setting? That's a good one. I'm going to let Caroline speak to that as a student. You know, what does it feel like? How many hours, and like, what's that experience like?
So our classes started at 8:30. So my roommate and I would usually wake up around 7, get dressed, and then go to Rebel Market. But we also were allowed to do Walmart runs. So some mornings we would just eat breakfast in our rooms. So we would go to Rebel Market, and Rebel Market is actually right across the street from the main Trent Lott building. So it didn't take that long to get there. We were in the classroom from about maybe 8:30 to maybe 10:15. And then we had like a 15-20 minute break, and we could go to the Union. A lot of us went to the Union. You could run back to your dorms if you needed to grab something. And then we had that break. And then we broke up for like an hour 30 for lunch. Most of us would just go to Rebel Market or the Union. And then we would go back for class again. And then maybe around like 2:30, 3:30, we would have or like maybe from around 2, we had another break. And then we usually wrapped up around 3:30, 4:30. Some days we would get out earlier. If we got like most of our work done for the day, other days we might have gotten out maybe 5-ish minutes later. There's so many breaks, and classes kind of spaced out, which was really nice because that was the part of class that made it feel like a college student for me, just being able to experience those breaks and have time management on them. So it's kind of just broken up throughout the day, but in total you're spending because they have to put enough hours in this class to last like half semester, I think, so you do get that high school credit. So a full day would be 8:30 to 4:30, but there's just so many breaks in between.
Yep. And that's why they have that online component to kind of make up for that, because they know you can't possibly do it in just like 2 weeks, do the whole thing. And it wouldn't be reasonable to just park yourself from 8 to 4:30 every day like that. So yeah, that's a really great description of how it works. And it's not like they're lecturing either. It's a very interactive seminar style instruction. And there are like lots of groups, like breakout groups and activities and things that happen, or working quietly on your computer, doing some research and then bringing that back to the class. So that's kind of how it is. It is just one class that you're in all that time, but because you have both the history and the English components to it, it can feel like you're kind of switching gears which I think helps. So it's not like you're just focused on the same thing all day. And yes, you can do both Lot 9 and Lot 12. We see a fair number of students who do apply to Lot 12 who have done Lot 9. And of course, that helps if they, built up a great reputation while they were here in Lot 9. Everybody wants to see them come back for Lot 12. So that does happen.
I'm hoping to come back for Lot 12.
Great. That's good, Caroline. I love to hear it. You should come for summer college too in the meantime.
Yay.
What else? What other kinds of questions? I just mentioned summer college. I should explain that. So There's Lot 9, and then we have a lot of students who in that break, maybe they do want to do Lot 12 someday. But in between those years, we have other programs. So we have our like 1 week sort of academic intensive summer immersion programs. So maybe you are thinking about engineering, or you're really passionate about creative writing. So you do like a 1 week experience with us, and you work with our faculty on campus, and you get to explore different fields of engineering, or you get to explore different types of creative writing. We have other topics as well. We have the McLean Entrepreneurial Leadership Program. We have all different kinds of things. So that's one option for students who are looking to do something and kind of explore campus to get that college experience, maybe go deeper on a subject that they love. And then we also have summer college, which is 4 weeks. So it's not like Lot 12 is actually 5 weeks long because we have a trip to DC in there. Summer college is 4 weeks long, and that includes a whole range of things. We have the engineering track, we have pre-health, we have art, music. In fact, art, music, and theater, if you're a Mississippi resident, those are free. Like, you don't even have to fill out an extra application for it or anything. If you're a Mississippi resident and you want to study art, music, film, theater, you can come here and study. Actually, I think film and theater, there's a small cost to it, but for the most part, you're coming for free. Tuition, don't pay for it. Food, don't pay for it. None of it pay for it. It's pretty great. We're just lucky to have a scholarship grant that we can use. But we have all different other kinds of classes you can take. We have one where we're going to be diving deep into the history and culture of the Delta and looking at contemporary issues and how communities are being innovative in the things they do to solve problems in those communities. So there's all different things you can explore in summer college. You want to be an educator? We've got Ed Start. It's a program for future educators, and those are all like 4 weeks long, and they get college credit for that. So when you're a rising junior or senior, those are things you'd be eligible to do. So there's lots of other things you could do between Lot 9 and Lot 12 if you want. Oh, and we have language as well, Chinese and Arabic. Those programs are really competitive to get into. They're awesome. The students who do that leave with like incredible language proficiency after just a month. So any other questions? How do you apply and what grade? Okay. So for summer college, you can apply in the same time period. Our application actually opens for that December 1st. You need to have either 14 high school credits, Carnegie units in high school, and a 3.0 average minimum in those, or you need to have a 30 on your ACT. So every now and then we'll have a student who is, freshman year of high school. They've already taken the ACT. They've got a 30 on it. They don't need to worry about the fact that they don't have all the college or the high school credits. They could still be eligible for summer college, but you do have to be eligible to get those dual credits by either one of those criteria. And there's more to that application process, but if you're interested, you can certainly let us know and we'll talk you through it. But it's great though, because then you end up already kind of provisionally admitted to the university and you don't have to go through the whole process again. You can just do a shortened piece when you are ready as an undergraduate. Other questions? These are all good ones, you guys. You've done a good job. You're probably all getting increasingly hungry, so I don't want to keep you too much longer. But I'm going to say a couple words, and then I'll let Caroline have the last word. She can inspire you. But I'm just going to say one of the things that causes problems is when students wait to the last minute to do their applications. I'm sure none of you on this would ever procrastinate, because I'm sure that's just not the kind of people you are. I was a procrastinator until probably my junior year of college. I don't recommend persisting in that for very long, but that means that sometimes you're scurrying at the last minute to do things. It doesn't work well when you're asking teachers to provide you with a reference and you're like, I need it tomorrow or today. They don't want to do it, and they won't do a good job. So I recommend that you kind of make yourself a plan, like go get the email on December 15th, application's open, here's what we're looking for. And then you just set yourself deadlines. You say, okay, by December 18th, I will have sent the reference form to the teacher. that I want to have fill out my reference. By January 10th, I will have written a rough draft of my essay so I can give it to, a parent or a teacher and just ask for their feedback on it. I will have made my video by January 15th and I'll have sent the whole package on the 17th or whatever. I don't know, but give yourself a timeline and then try to hold yourself accountable so that you're not stressing, because I can tell you that, after the 25th, it's late and we get a lot of applicants. Right. And so the committee is going to prioritize the people that got it in on time. And at some point, we really don't accept applications much after the 25th. Okay. So just be mindful of that. All right. Any final call for questions, and then I'll let Caroline give you her best pitch for why you should do this summer, even though you could be just laying around at home.
So I did see a question and it was like, what are all the subjects a member would take? And another question, how many classes do we have a day? So it's one big class, but once again, you have it broken up into those breaks. As far as subjects, it's all on American democracy, but you go into different aspects of it, like the branches of government, in the mornings and afternoons to kind of begin our classes, begin our class after lunch and begin our class in the morning. We read 2 books. We read The Martian and then we read The Mississippi Trial. And those were 2 really good books. They were really interesting to read in class. And so basically you just dive into different issues there may be in American democracy, because the issues you guys may be talking about may be different from the issues we talked about, because we talked about a lot of court cases that were currently going on then, a lot of issues that we face that were going on then. So it may be a little different for you guys in the discussions you may have. But also, I don't know if this is a spoiler or anything, and you guys might forget if once y'all get there. So our final project, so you have a final exam, I guess, was making a protest song. So you got to sing about an issue in American democracy. So if some of you guys know the song, Ain't No Mountain High Enough, my friend and I did that to Ain't Nothing Worse Than Fake News, because that was an issue that we talked about, fake news. So that was a fun project to do. And so I hope that kind of answered that question.
That's a good point, Caroline. And if you heard that and you're like, I'm a massive introvert, that's what I would go, oh gosh, that would be just terrifying. Don't worry. Everyone managed to do it. Everybody engaged in the way they were comfortable with it. I've seen this run, when they do that project, Caroline, I'm always amazed that everybody has a good time and everybody kind of participates at the level they're comfortable with, and you will totally have a good time. It'll be just fine. So when would the other fun classes be? Oh, you're talking to Blair, are you talking about the evening stuff that we talked about? Yeah, so Ari takes over at the end of the day. So everybody goes for dinner. And then we have required community time every night, which I know we're using the word required, sounds not fun, but why we do that, because otherwise people get all scattered and it's hard to get them all together. But so we have required community time, and the counselors, the undergraduates who live with y'all and supervise you, they're there to help run it. And so it's a time when you guys are all gathered together, and either Ari or Charles, our other coordinator, will have planned something. Some nights that's like you go to the square and you get ice cream together and have fun, or you have a water balloon fight, or you do a scavenger hunt around campus. There's all different kinds of things. And like Ari mentioned, sometimes it's parties. And then we do have optional things too. So on the weekends, when you're not on that trip, we may say, hey, anyone who wants to go to the climbing wall, you can sign up. You just have to do the waiver, things like that. So that would be what happens in the evenings. And you have unstructured time too. So we don't take all of your free time. You have time to do homework, and you have time to just, people start up and randomly do karaoke sessions, or they do, yeah, Caroline, you know what I'm talking about. The karaoke just never stops. The karaoke, there's board game playing, there's Madden football tournaments, ping pong games, all kinds of stuff that people just kind of create on their own to have fun. And
One thing I would like to mention, I hate to interrupt, but this was definitely another highlight of the experience. So when we first got there, everybody was like, oh my gosh, there's a pool table. So there were 2 boys that were super interested in playing and 2 girls that were super interested in playing. And they had the ultimate pool battle, and the loser had to buy the winner Chick-fil-A because there's a Chick-fil-A in the Union. And that was just so fun to watch because the girls dressed up and the boys dressed up, and it was just so fun. That was a highlight of the experience. And all the events that we did were super fun. We got to go to the square. We did the scavenger hunt. Everybody was always like, community time, but it was so fun, and it was great for everybody to be together. And then one night there was like, I guess, a job fair, or meet the miners. That's what it was. And we got to see all the different miners Ole Miss had to offer, and that was super fun. So
yeah, great. Thank you so much, Caroline. So this will conclude our session. I think that covers most things, but you know what? If you need to hang out a little bit later and ask, we're going to linger just a few extra minutes. I just don't want to keep people. And I know we have our Lot 12 session starting here in a little bit. So I see Sophie's already here. So any of you, if you do have questions, you're welcome to linger, but thank you for hanging out. If you do have more questions that come to your mind in the next few days, you can just email schs@olemiss.edu. That's our summer college and Lott all-purpose email. And Kathy Thompson, who couldn't be here tonight, she will answer any of your questions. She's very knowledgeable about Lot 9, and she'll get right back with you. I'll drop that in the chat too, so you have that email if you need it. The Lott Institute can answer some of your questions, but actually we know a good bit more about it just because they have all their other programs they do too. So in terms of application process and all that kind of stuff, it's easier to just email us. All right. Well, thank y'all for being here. Good night.
thank y'all. Thank you for
All right.
inviting me, Miss Wendy.
Thank you so much, Caroline. Really appreciate you participating. That was great. Take care, everybody.